You're welcome, Your Excellency. Yeah. All right, while the ladies are taking their seats, let me invite Dr. Ano Anyanwu to please come out, join up here. Dr. Ano Anyanwu, please. Dr. Jumoke, please also join us up here, please. Dr. Jumoke, please, join us up here. Dr. Ano Anyanwu, please. Yeah, come up here, Dr. Ano. Yeah. The entrance is somewhere here.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much, His Excellency, the Governor of Abia State. Thank you, Sir, His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano. Thank you, distinguished, very senior citizens, both military and civil, that are seated with us this morning. Thank you and welcome. I would like us to say a word of prayer to commit this event to the hands of our God Almighty. Father, Lord, we thank you for another opportunity you've given us as Nigerians to gather together to discuss the affairs of this land. Father, we thank you for whatever idea that will come up this day shall build a new foundation for this nation. Father, we thank you because your wisdom is upon all the discussants. We thank you, Father Lord, for you have given us an open mind to look at the affairs of our dear motherland, so that at the end of the day, ideas will come up and they will be acceptable to those in power and those outside power, to build a formidable foundation for the future of the generation to come. Thank you, Almighty Jehovah. We bless your holy name, Almighty God. Father, we thank you for answered prayers, for prayed in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Deacon, and the people of God say a loud amen. 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 In this part of the world, we love to pray. Prayer is how we start. Talking about prayer, I come from a part of the country that has the largest number of Reverend Fathers and Sisters per square kilometer. And if you know the history of the Catholic Church in Nigeria, you know where I'm talking about. Is a place called Mbise in Imo State. Yes, we have given this country so many Reverend Fathers and Sisters that they just had to give us a diocese. The rest is history. I don't want to go into the history of our diocese for those who know us. We have so many priests that, in fact, at a time it was one priest per family of industry. That building that later collapsed. Yeah, on Broad Street. Yeah, but we had left there before it collapsed. That was where I served. So I said, how did the man who wanted to be doctor now end up in the bank? I thought he was going to be banking. But I somehow worked my way into entertainment industry, the early days of Nollywood. And that was how an engineer became an actor and comedian. Nigeria had decided at that point. You understand? And I was busy doing this entertainment business that I loved when my state governor in 2008 saw me in Lagos and decided you should come and serve your people. And that's how I became senior special assistant to governor. And while serving the state, I felt that services is also in my lineage. So I decided to run for office in 2011. that politicians did not kill me. It's only God that delivered me. I'm sure His Excellency knows that anybody who wins election in Nigeria, if you win election in Nigeria, you deserve to chop money if you see them. I tell you, they will make life hell for you. All the bloodsuckers are lined up along the electoral process from your village to INEC to make sure that every day you have people coming to your house to tell you that you're the chosen one. But you'll be surprised when they go for primaries, you may not see one vote, and you'll be wondering, where are all those people coming to the house early morning to drink tea? Is their vote not here? Nigerian electoral system is full of drama. So I tried in 2011, went for primaries, failed, but not woefully. I just failed. No, you are not qualified to laugh at me if you have not failed the election. You are not. You don't know what it is like. You understand? Anyway. So I came out from that. But the experience was beautiful because even Harvard cannot teach you that experience. You learn it in the field. So I came out and I ran back to showbiz. I was minding my business. They started calling me again from the village that this is the right time for you. I said, "No lie. It is the right time for you people. I'm not going again." I barely survived that last one. Yes, I kept minding my business until recently when my community called again to say, "Oh yeah, come and be traditional ruler." You know. I said, "Did you say what? Traditional healer?" No, they say, "No, not healer, ruler." I said, "Okay." Because if it has to do with Mborogo and all these things, I may not be available right now. But leadership, okay, we'll try. So that's what we are doing. Nigeria has a way of deciding.
We have Professor Remi Shoneya, who was the first chairperson of this the niche lecture. And she promised me that she will come, but that she will not come alone, that she will come with the husband, Professor Babafunsho Shoneya, who is also here with her. Then we have Dr. Omar Elazo. And by the way, Dr. Omar Elazo is 95 years. Yes. He chaired the last lecture that was delivered by the former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi. We are still expecting Professor Anya Owanya, who also delivered our second lecture. Unfortunately, last year, we lost Dr. Christopher Nakolade, who was the chairman of the second lecture that was delivered by Professor Anya. And early this year also, we lost Mr. Yakubu Mohammed, who was one of the discussants at the lecture Dr. Omar Elazo chaired. May their souls rest in peace. Easy to say that when the newspaper, that's the Niche, debuted in April 2014, the editorial policy captured its mission. The Niche will always anchor its position on the need for social justice, fairness, and respect for human and communal rights. Will be uncompromising against any form of discrimination and subjugation. Debuted in April 2014, the editorial policy captured its mission. The Niche will always anchor its position on the need for social justice, fairness, and respect for human and communal rights. The organization in 2018 set up the Niche Foundation for Development Mechanism. In the last 3 years, we have unfailingly every Monday drawn the attention of Nigerians to the incredible stories of young Nigerian entrepreneurs who are making giant strides in all fields despite their odds. Some of these young entrepreneurs are also here today because I told them to come. This year's lecture, with a rather eclectic theme, governing the economy, Choices, Trade-offs, and National Priorities is the fifth in the series and promises to be different. Both the electorate and the politicians jostling for power need to be reminded, to use the phrase of James Carville, President, a first-class scholar. He has a permanent experience. Above all, he has demystified governance in less than 3 years with a stellar performance. After all, he will probably tell us if it is this. I, therefore, on behalf of the staff and management of Acclaim Communications Limited, publishers of The Niche, formally welcome you to the 5th edition of The Niche Annual Lecture. Thank you.
Thank you. I love what The Niche is doing. If you're one who follows, you will know that their reportage of national issues is one they do fearlessly. Yes. Their commentary on both social and national issues are ones devoid of partisan inclination. They say it the way it is. They are fearless. And that's good. To see that in journalism these days, it's becoming tough, considering the kind of climate that we find ourselves. But what do I know? I'm not the one delivering the lecture.
Somewhere. I'm happy to be here. It is my great honor and pleasure to have been invited to chair this occasion, this lecture. Try not to say anything on the economy because Alex is going to give a lecture on the economy, and also because from experience anything controversial said here will by default be attributed to me. Whether or not I was one who said it, so let it be on record that I have made no comment on the economy.
Know what structural reforms are supposed to be. If you have a problem, it's central bank. And I think people need to understand the economy and how it works and what it needs in order to grow, and how we can have a trickle-down effect of growth to the bottom of the pyramid. So thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, the Emir of Kano. His Royal Highness, I don't know if you get told this often, but as one who has listened to you speak time and time again, your eloquence and the clarity of your voice when you speak is one that makes it listen to you. And for every time you've done your social commentary,
one, there's really nothing that I'm going to say here that is new. Some of the choices that we have made in the last 50 to 60 years, we are not just going to wish them away or throw something in and they will all disappear and the problems will be solved overnight. So if you have behaved badly in over 60 years, then it will take you time to correct yourself. Our country has a great destiny, and this future will certainly remain bright. Even then, the world cannot afford to wait in perpetuity for Nigeria to begin to play to its full strength. Quietly, Mamadou Sanusi, the second CON, Emir of Kano, and Igwe Alfred Nemeka Achebe Abogidi, CFR, Obi of Onitsha, who is on his way, who have graciously joined as chairman and royal father of today's event respectively. The two royal fathers in our midst, accomplished professionals and portraits of grace and dignity, embody the greatness and eternal acclaim of our heritage. Their presence at this auditorium points to the seriousness of today's event and serves as a poignant reminder to all of us that there is a growing hunger across demographics to direct our national trajectory. I thank our distinguished royal fathers for their abiding commitment to a Nigeria that works for all of us. Commendations are also due to all patriotic Nigerians who have gathered from all walks of life to listen and share important ideas on how to improve the economic and social realities of our people. On this note, I particularly want to recognize our father who is here, Dr. Umar Elazo, who... Thank you. Dr. Umar Elazo will be 96 in a few months. He was 95 last year, and we celebrated him in Umuahia. Thank you, sir, for what you do. Thank you. I'm optimistic that at the end of today's interactions, all of us will go home with a few things to reflect and act upon, especially as political debates return to the front burner. I will never stop talking about the critical connection between politics and the economy, how politics drives critical economic outcomes, and why none of us can afford the luxury of political indifference. Understandably, a lot of people are disillusioned by the disappointments of the years past. But again, the irrefutable truth is that things will continue to deteriorate if we insist on staying away from the field of play. The importance of participating in the political process has little to do with convenience or comfort. It is rather a patriotic duty to our fatherland that we can no longer shy away from. You cannot claim to love Nigeria or your state or the city where you reside and yet remain aloof. Were decided not at the polling units, but by some underhand deals that eventually set the state on a difficult trajectory. In the end, everything went downhill. It got so bad that basic social services like urban waste management and maintenance of public infrastructure were abandoned. Thousands of families lost their breadwinners as the party that stole the mandate of the people enacted an unofficial policy to deny workers and retirees their entitlements. In the 8 years that followed, entrepreneurs suffered severe losses as social services collapsed, and when they could no longer afford to live with the nightmare, they quietly packed their bags. Those who found buyers sold their properties and then bid their goodbyes. Abia, I can say with every sense of conviction, is proof that economics cannot be separated from politics. Within Nigeria and around the world, evidence abounds that it is near impossible to build a robust economy on the foundation of political corruption. Reckless leaders don't build strong institutions, and those who win elections by dishonest means cannot abide by the demands of ethics and prudence while in office. The question for all of us, therefore, is, how does our political choices align with our economic expectations? I'm often asked what we have done differently in Abia, and my response is often simple: changing the behavior of political leadership. Investors are not returning to Aba because everything has suddenly turned perfect. No. They are coming back because they have seen a clear difference in the disposition of the current leadership. The institutions are becoming more responsive, not because we hired angels to run them. Things are changing at the ministries, departments, and agencies for the simple reason that we entrusted leadership to individuals who understand what it means to lead with a clear service orientation. Men and women who appreciate the principles of stewardship, In Abia, we have not only restored the faith of our people in government, we have effectively demonstrated that agencies of government can be alive to their responsibilities. And of course, the political office holders are actually servants of the people, not their masters. With the streets of our urban centers cleaner than they have ever been, consistency in the execution and delivery of large-scale capital projects, and unyielding commitment to the security of lives and property, it is easy to understand why old businesses are returning, even as new enterprises open in record numbers across our dear state. I had always maintained that even if you relocated to what they call the abroad, seeking.
And when I say qualitative actors, I mean both those who are in power and the voters who see votes as wares for sale to the highest bidder. If we treat election seasons as bazaars, a time to extract and squeeze whatever we can out of the system, it becomes inevitable that the primary pursuit of those who win elections will not be to serve the community, but to recoup what has been invested and suck up resources for the next round of polls. I'm sure His Royal Majesty Ezeoke Bakassi, his story is not lost on us. It may be tough to accept, but strong and resilient institutions cannot be built on the back of a corrupt political court. What that favors just about anyone with a deep wallet to buy voters, electoral officials, media practitioners, yes, me, saw the state on a difficult trajectory. In the end, everything as the party that stole the mandate of the people sees collapse. And when they could no longer afford to live with it, I can say with every sense of conviction, it's proof that it is very possible to build a robust economy on the foundation of the partners and agencies for the simple reason that we trusted leadership to individuals who understand what it means to lead with a clear service orientation. Men and women who appreciate the principles of stewardship. In Abia, we have not only restored the faith of our people in government, we have effectively demonstrated that agencies of government can be alive to their responsibilities. And of course, the political office holders are actually servants of the people, not their masters. With the streets of our urban centers cleaner than they have ever been, consistency in the execution and delivery of large-scale capital projects, and unyielding commitment to the security of lives of property, it is easy to understand why old businesses are returning, even as new enterprises open in record numbers across our dear states. I had always maintained that even if you relocated to what they call the abroad, seeking foreign capital, the people will just laugh at you because before you board the plane, they already have all the information about you. So by the time you finish speaking your long English and big English, and you talk back, they will just say waka, because they will not come. Investors respond not on emotions, but on hard facts. So have you created the enabling environment? If you've not created an enabling environment, businesses will not come. The most modern things we have recorded in Abia is down to a new orientation to public sector leadership. Abia since 2015 rejected the old political culture of elite compromises. They were undeterred by the disappointments of 2015 and 2019, but remain resolute in their conviction that once we get it right politically, everything else will fall in place. Events of the last 35 months have simply proved that they understand something that some of us may need to pay great attention to. Politics, when done right, expands the sea of economic opportunity for everyone, builds confidence and sets the community free from the agony of destitution and helplessness. The interesting thing is that once the fundamentals are in place, you may not have to wait for ages to see the manifestation of progress to the daily experiences of the population. And what money says about it is not the big things. It is about the small change that eventually aggregate to great things. Schools that actively educate the young and prepare them for the opportunities of the future. Businesses that make profit and employ the products of our schools and vocational centers. Hospitals that attend to the sick, support the health and well-being of the population. Roads that fast-track the movement of people and goods. Funds that feed the population, and an economy that supports the hard work of its population, inspires dreams, and drives innovation. Again, these are no abstract ideas. In fact, they are fundamental to the growth and development that we seek. And you will not have everything. I'm happy that I have in the room some of my friends that are working for me in Abia State. They don't come from Abia State. They said, looks like village people are locating on it. Yes, I have Mrs. Alero Otobo and her team, Eric T, who have relocated to Abia State in the last 3 years, supporting us in education. And I have Mrs. Claire Moshe, who is also mostly in Abia State, supporting us at the health area. So you cannot have everything, but when you do, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to once again now introduce the Obi of Onitsha, who we had introduced in absentia. Thank you very much. Very Majesty Igwe Nemeka Alfred Achibe, CFR. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. It will help to note that in contemporary economic interpretation, development goes beyond growth in nominal GDP. It is about the experiences of the population, the expansion of our employment opportunities, consistent assault on the menace of poverty, and measures that cutting extreme inequalities, driving inclusiveness, and leaving no one behind. It is therefore not just enough to expend resources on the development of physical infrastructure. The expected social and economic returns have to be estimated in advance to determine the medium to long-term benefits of such investments vis-à-vis other competing demands. The same applies to social welfare programs that prioritize cash handouts or the distribution of food items to poor households. The question of returns and sustainability has to be asked. Does it actually make long-term economic sense to commit humongous sums to short-term consumption? What if such funds are directed transparently to investments in agriculture, power, or public works so as to create real employment for the poor? This is about teaching the hungry to bake their own bread instead of the tokenism of receiving a small loaf every now and again. A productive alternative to economic handouts not only yields superior long-term economic benefits, it preserves the dignity of the beneficiary. Another area of concern is the size of public resources wasted on abandoned projects, infrastructure initiatives that are discontinued just because the administration that initiated them is out of office, even when such projects are barely viable or on the verge of completion. How can genuine progress be made when governance is personality-driven? The bottom line is that there are multiple channels of waste cities that have to be closed, and the savings arising therefrom directed more prudently. Development is impossible without a proper sense of stewardship amongst those in leadership positions. The understanding that what is entrusted in our care does not automatically become private possession, but talents that will be diligently accounted for in due time. Unfortunately, many of us in public offices are yet to acquire the discipline to separate personal interests from public aspirations. Oftentimes, it is about our ego and considerations that are not connected to the expectations of those we are called to serve. The summary of my thought on economic development is that it has to be people-focused, touching directly on the parameters that have expert bearing on our daily experiences as citizens and economic agents. In Nigeria, our national development pursuits should capture efforts at the revival and optimization of dormant factor assets, especially our large extents of arable land, the talent, and the creative energy of our young population, and new cross-border opportunities that technology have opened to us. Several nations of the world are doing better than us on multiple fronts, not because they are better endowed, but for the simple reason that they have consistently made better political and economic choices than we have done. Democracy remains the best vehicle for inclusive growth and development, but perhaps the time has come to evaluate how ignorant among the voting public weak internal governance mechanisms within the party hierarchy and the mere absence of clarity in the disposition of critical state institutions can hamper the governance. It's a major albatross in our polity, and you can link it to the weakness of our institutions and the growing culture of populist opportunism. This holds a lot of importance to what will happen to our country and the states in the decades to follow, because we are on the eve of another major election. This is the best time to take civic education seriously. The citizens must know what issues will be determined or developed next year, and how all of it is tied to our future. The acquisition of luxurious vehicles, lavish state dinners, and self-serving overseas trips must be frozen immediately. The message for all of us is that our people respond more to what we do, not what we say. Economic growth certainly requires trade-offs, like putting more resources into capital projects and less to recurrent expenditure. High investments in education and health over white elephant projects, and prioritizing public security over political patronage. However, before announcing a freeze on a wage hike, and the NLC president is here, those who sit at the decision-making table are also obliged to resist the temptation to pad their allowances or allocate higher perks to themselves, and that would be a tragic violation of trust. Since we assumed office in 2023, a central motor vehicle management policy was adopted to fix as many abandoned vehicles as could be fixed, invest more resources in the acquisition of locally made vehicles, and drastically cut down the number of functionaries entitled to official vehicles. We also looked deeper into the nominal role to identify possible channels of malpractices. It was not too long before we discovered thousands of ghost workers, I think about 11,000 of them, and other evidence of malpractices within the system. We have since dealt with those using technology tools and new evaluation process that save the state reasonable sums of money. We have also expanded our independent revenue base by more than 300% in the last 35 months through engagements with different economic groups, and of course the introduction of ICT tools in revenue mapping, mobilization, and remittances. However, the main reason we have done better at internal revenue mobilization is not that our people can see where their money is going to. They clearly understand our philosophy of governance as partnership between the government and the people. The lesson here is that citizens are much more sensitive that we appreciate. Their response to government policy and programs is tied to their everyday experiences. Fixing our economic governance template requires sending the right kind of signal, one that assures the people that the pay of the reforms will lead to enduring economic freedom for everyone in the fullness of time. I always give this example. I was in my office early 2024, and a gentleman walked in and said he wanted to support me and the government for the road that we built across his house. I felt he was just coming to thank me. He said, "Oh, by the way, I have $200,000 to support you." And I said, "Oh, really? Okay, so I'll give you the internally generated revenue accounts to Aba and its environs." Having achieved that, now working on getting reliable power to the rest of the states. I'm glad that the energy sector is now liberalized to accommodate participation by the states. Abia is already taking advantage of this new window of opportunity to the fullest. We have already started an energy sector partnership framework where government lends its weight to the share of its periodic revenue to the development of the transport ecosystem within its domain. In Abia, we are working with the private sector to develop a real master plan for the states. While we understand that this is a long-term project, we also believe that the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. We have no doubt that regional integration will benefit from rail networks to link agro and industrial sectors to markets within and outside the region. I'm convinced that a lot will change in our economic outlook if we get transportation right, starting with targeted investments in infrastructure. It is on the back of this that we launched our electric buses toward the end of last year, and the fleet will be sold by July this year. In our state, it is our belief that we cannot build a functional economy on the back of small generators. It's also our opinion that nothing will change if the most reliable public transport system are commercial motorcycles, tricycles, and minibuses. Of course, investment in social infrastructure, particularly health and education, where we have allocated 15 and 20% of our budget in the last 3 years, cannot be overemphasized. Lastly, and probably more importantly, is the issue of security. There's a reason security of lives and property is captured in our constitution as the primary responsibility of government. For over 20 years, insecurity has taken so much from our national treasury, while drastically cutting the volume of resources that could have been deployed to drive development outcomes in other areas of need. Insecurity disables economic growth, seals talents, and keeps production assets. The other setback in our country are not intractable, but again, there must be a firm commitment on the part of every institution. We can then move the gear to monitoring the procurement process in public institutions, cutting waste, and blocking channels of leakages, because every kobo matters. They are both what I consider fundamental to jumpstarting our development. The next step will be the deliberate pursuit of accelerated development through integrated service delivery in public sector institutions, especially education and health. People are our biggest assets, so it is important we invest generously in our wealth of human capital, for that is what I consider our truest and most enduring wealth, far above the treasures that are buried beneath our soil. To appreciate how infinite our human capital.
And I know that, some of the things that he said, we know already. Nigerians are very intelligent people. We know. But oftentimes we find ourselves in a situation where we are like people whose hands are tied and sent out to war. But I know, I tell people sometimes when we discuss that there's hope. We can never lose hope. And we did protest in the era of the military. This generation, I said, what are you guys doing? If we protested against the military, next. But those whom have found themselves in position of authority, do not take these young people for granted. You know, in my years in entertainment business, I work with these people. And as an in-law of Abia State, because my wife is from Abia, as an in-law, we appreciate what you're doing. Yes, his own wife is from Imo, yeah. Yes, he took wife from our side, then I went for return match. I took from his own side, you know. So we are neighbors. Once Abia is fixed, we are happy. Yeah. All right, because they say when God is blessing your neighbor, that means God is in the neighborhood. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on. We're going to go into the panel session, but before then, while we were speaking, the royal father of the day came in. I'm talking about, you know, the former chairman, Diamond Bank, and His Royal Majesty, Igwe Nemeka Alfred Achebe Gidi, CFR, the pure furniture. Yes. A man who towers above all, both in height and in accomplishment. You're welcome, Royal Father of the Day. And by the special grace of God, my very personal friend. He knows how much I like to stress his life. And I'll stress him a little again. You know, you can, Royal Father, and not say anything. Let you know the chairman has spoken, the lecturer has just finished his lecture. As a Royal Father, you add a bit of your royal touch to it before we can go ahead with the panel. So, Abu Gidi, the mic is yours.
Our distinguished speaker, Your Excellency, Dr. Alex Oti, Chairman, Sakin Kano, I greet you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'll stand on established protocol. First of all, my apologies for coming late. I was burning the candle at 3 ends, not 2 ends, 3 ends. And you have to figure out how a candle burns at 3 ends instead of 2. But thank God I was able to break out and come here to catch at least the tail end of the lecture. At this point, I don't really have much to say. The lecture is very clear, very definitive. Just a few comments. My own personal belief that there's too much politics in Nigeria and hardly any governance. Distinction. In other countries, politics happens once in a few years, depending on their cycle. Thereafter, governance. This comes up again. But in our country, already, the politics of 2000 is already on. And so, not even 2019. So we're in serious trouble as a country. But then, I'm an optimist, and those of us who are optimists see a ray of light coming up in Abia State. And by the way, I think that it's about time that the Constitution should make provision for independent candidates in this country, so that the electorate can choose their representatives or governors based on the caliber of the individual rather than the politics they belong to or the political party they belong to. Because for now, we vote for political parties. And political parties are all basically angling, killing each other, and so on and so forth, as we see. Ultimately, it boils down to money, because a lot of people who go in, supposedly for politics, are probably going in for the money, rather than the governance. There comes then a ray of light in the person of Dr. Alex Otti. I was close enough because I think I must be the first person he spoke to when he made a decision that he was leaving private sector administration and governance to the public sector administration. Not to go from the private sector into politics. Okay, and the lecture he has given makes it very clear that it's more just a continuation of his God-given abilities and skills and vision that he has taken from the private sector to the public sector. We all know the records he has achieved in the private sector, and I can attest to that also. He turned Diamond Bank around at a very critical period. After 4 years, we extended his tenure for another 4 years. And within a year, he called me to say he was leaving. Pascal Duzier, may his soul rest in peace, and myself tried everything to stop him, but he was clear-minded. Thank God that he saw the future more than we did. And which is a story that we all are telling today. But it's just the beginning. He has a lot more to offer, not only to Abia State, but to this country. And he demonstrates there's still hope. And I'm an optimist. We still believe that there's a Nigeria that is for all of us, and that will take care of all of us if all of us work hard to make it what we want. However, having said that, there are obstacles on the way, and he's well aware of them. And I'll tell you a story, names, but if you know, early in my my transformation from a corporate suit to this uniform I'm wearing now, a company, one of the largest construction companies in the world globally, wanted to come into Nigeria business. And they put on a bid to build or to rebuild the Onitsha-Owerri Road. I was acquainted with the overseas partners and the Nigerian partners, and they came to me to ask me to join the board of the company. I said no. Onitsha-Owerri Road, I'm a stakeholder. So I'll be the stakeholder and I'll make sure you do a good job. And that's good enough for me. Now they put on a bid that was about 50%, the nearest other bid. And all the others are already doing business in Nigeria. They are brand new. And the Ministry of Works asked, are you sure you can deliver? They said yes, they've done their work. So they got the contract. For the next 6 to 9 months, all their equipments were stuck at the port, waiting for customs clearance. And they can't understand why. But the message was that at every step, they were blocked. They managed to get close to Ihiala after a big struggle. And then the Ministry of Works decided that they were it, and the contracts, well, they also decided that they were not up to it, doing business in Nigeria as they do business elsewhere in the world. So they also moved away. But the message is very clear for our governor. And we know already there have been obstacles. There have been efforts to stop him from doing what he's trying to do. Why? Because by doing that, he will demonstrate that the last 24 years of Abia State had been wasted. So, ladies and gentlemen, he needs our prayers, he needs our support, he needs everything we can do to make him continue on his transformation journey, such that when it's done, nobody can reverse it again. You can only. I thank you all for your attention. Thank you very much.
Abogidi. Thank you very much, His Royal Majesty, the Obi of Onitsha. Spoken like a royal father. His Excellency, the Governor, you are in our prayers. Nobody will stop it. Nobody will stop what God has started in Abia. All right, we are going to go into the panel discussions. But let me quickly recognize some people who joined us while we're here enjoying that lecture. I cited the arrival of very distinguished Nigerian pharmacist, founder and former CEO of Nimed Pharmaceuticals, Mazi Samo Huabunwa here. Please, OFR. You're welcome, sir. Seated next to him is Dr. Mrs. Uju Ifejika, the chairperson and CEO of Britannia U Limited, one of the most powerful women in oil and gas. You're welcome. And of course, the giant himself in the business of logistics, Chief Dr. Chida Nyebu, MFR, CON, founder and chairman, Chisco Group. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. And thanks all of you for joining us. We'll continue to recognize people as we make progress. But right now, to the panel. Please, engineer, you will really help us with the microphone, because this panel session will have 3 discussants seated with a moderator, and it won't be good for this microphone to be glitching at any point. So please do help us fix everything that you have to fix before they start. Fortunately for us, the panelists are already seated here on the stage amongst the other special guests. Yeah, they're already seated, but it's important that once more that I introduce them. Let me start from His Excellency down that way. Seated next to His Excellency is the President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajero. Please, a round of applause for Comrade Joe Ajero. Comrade has a bachelor degree in education from University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and a postgraduate diploma in journalism. He has a master's in industrial and labor relations. He's also completed programs in the prestigious Harvard, Cambridge. He's a man in the quest for knowledge as well as a comrade. Strong man, sir. You're welcome. We know the kind of things that you've gone through trying to manage the labor union. Has occasionally received some beatings and things like that, but he has refused to die. He's a strong man. Welcome, sir. All right, seated next to him, Dr. Ogule. Please, she's an associate professor, Department of Accounting, Faculty of Management Sciences, University of Lagos. Master's degree in accounting, PhD in accounting, fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICA. Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause for Dr. Gule. Yes, and next, Chief Ano Anyanwu. Chief Ano Anyanwu is an accomplished banker, chartered accountant, Masters in Banking and Finance, fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, honorary senior member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, former executive director, Spring Bank and Mainstream Bank, and the former district governor of the International Association of Lions Club District 404A1. Please, a round of applause for Chief Ano Anyanwu. You're welcome. And to moderate this session, ladies and gentlemen, is Yeah, a professor of strategy and development, the Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies. Round of applause for Professor Anthony Killer. Anthony, please come forward. He currently serves on several boards and works with organizations across sectors such as aviation, agriculture, finance, healthcare, etc., etc. He's also Pro-Chancellor and Chairman Governing Council of Michael and Cecilia Ibru University. You're welcome, Professor Killer. All right, I'll vacate this podium for you to continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, Your Royal Highnesses, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Allow me to commence this session of the day by acknowledging and thanking the keynote speaker, the Governor of Abia State, for not letting down the standard of the niche lecture. It could have, you take these things for granted, but it could have happened. People like me who have the privilege and perhaps the pain of being part of organizing this lecture and choosing the speakers, the kind of thought that goes through to say who should speak, who should chair, and how do you raise this standard every year. Really a very heartfelt thank you for giving a speech that invites us to think, and it's something we need to celebrate at a time when deep conversations are not the norm anymore. So thank you very much, Your Excellency. And those who know me know that I'm quite stingy with compliments. So if I stay on it, I think it's well deserved. This is a good time to clap. Well, so let us, in thanking you, let us thank you for, in the tradition of the niche lecture, to have redefined some things. The introduction of the concept of state actors to be more inclusive than the usual thinking of just the political leaders. It's a very useful thing, to tie citizenship with leadership. Thank you very much for doing that. You also reminded us that where we are is the product of where we're coming from. And that is where our conversation will start from. Your Highness, anytime I see the I'm inside, they say KBAC. I think I'm not the only one who gives that idea. So let's ask our panelists, do we think that it is necessary? Because when we talk about this past, there are individuals in this country who led us to that past, who made those decisions that some people are now veering away from. Is it necessary to call them out? We talk about mentors to follow. Perhaps it's time to start reflecting on people who not to follow. Let's comment on that. Let's start from that. Because when we talk about how we got here, we tend to say it as if the system just went off, as if some decisions were made. White Elephant Project, unsustainable projects that the speaker mentioned. Can we get somebody to comment on that? What can we do? Whilst that person is speaking, the second question we're going to address, it's a good time to throw lady on the bus and do ladies first. The second question we're going to address is the question of choices. The speaker told us about the need to focus on long-term productive projects rather than short-term vanity projects. Second question after that, can we legislate the kind of project that governance make? Can we include? Because in reality, as the Emir has told us, in the banking industry, there's a constructive tension between risk management and business development. There is a framework for operational and policy making. Can we bring that to public governance? So let's have those two questions that we move on that way.
All right, thank you very much. And I'm so happy to be here. Since you scrapped the opening statements, I'll just go straight to the questions that you asked. And the first question is, should we call out those who brought us to where we are, knowing that we could not have gotten here if not for the decisions that were taken?
Energies towards looking to the future. And I also want to say something about the second question that you asked that we want to create. Because truly there's always a trade-off. When you're trying to drive economic growth, you need to do, if you're trying to, they are cold, they are of ill health, and you don't pay attention to them, and you say, I just need to get to the promised land, and you get there with half of the people you are taking dead. So there needs to be a delicate balance. You need to have that delicate balance between your long-term vision and short-term stabilization initiatives that you can do. Target the most vulnerable.
Thank you very much. To the first question, I don't think that name calling of people who put us into trouble will help us. Because the problems of the past education in the form of health services, in the form of provision of, we abandoned. Yes, the people at the head may have made mistakes, but we all at the lower levels make mistakes as well. I'll give you an example with my village in Mbese. In 1932, the convent,
he also, told us the importance of professionals not abandoning the public. Let me segment that into two parts. People, you use statistics to show that the reduction in the amount of voters.
What's the difference if votes don't count? Whether I sell my vote or I throw it away, is there any difference? Because the percentage people, if I vote this time, vote another time, and my votes don't count, should I continue to vote? No, that's because unless they say in our place that the person who marries the father's wife doesn't know that it is expensive to get married. You can pay the bride price of kids. And I've said this is the first case now, and I can tell you, Abia of all places, in 2023 election, the votes counted. Can we say that of all other places? And it's important to let's look at a representative sample of discussion. Now, if that is the case, because I listened to the governor, and he had that generalization, ideally, if you are talking of Abia, we can discuss it. But if we are talking of the country, generally, then there's a problem. Because Abia does not reflect the situation in the country. And I'm surprised. And we need to fight double to maintain the situation in Abia. Because of what we have seen already. And he knows it. During the councillorship election, he managed to survive. Because even the ladder you want to use to climb, they will remove it from you. And then you will not become a candidate. So I think we should not take it in isolation. Every Nigerian, when you mobilize them, they want to vote. And they come out and vote massively. The youth in the country came out in 2023 and voted. If you interview any of them today, I will tell you that they are disappointed. That's the situation today. Should we continue this way, or something needs to give way? In 2027 election, I don't know how many people here that are very optimistic that we are going to get the result of what we are going to put in, or there is even going to be election. So we should not take these things in isolation. People can't continue to vote, and you tell them that their views don't matter, and you want them to continue. In fact, refusing to vote is a way of protesting that we can't continue this way. So I think I must respond to that question. But if we don't want to go out from our topic, the choices, whose choices are we talking about? The same old choices. Who regulate these choices? when you say subsidy is gone, is that our choice? No, because you have to put these things together. That's the choice. And subsidy is gone goes with a lot of checks. It then means my transportation to work 100%. No food, no accommodation. Everything is now gone. So we have to look at choices. Who determines these choices? How does it affect us? How does it reflect on our moving forward? And as citizens of this country. So we should not look at them in isolation. Those people in the villages who refuse to vote or who collect money to vote, they are tired of the system. So what do we do as the elite? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The keynote speaker made mention of something very, I think, very telling. He talked about competence. He talked about people competent, that they should understand the economy, that they should understand economics. And competence generally is not only what they do, but also how leaders communicate. Because sometimes good things are done, but badly communicated, or they're telling everybody to go right and they're going left. Left being where there is pleasure and luxury. Right being where they're telling everybody to go to. Hey, Derek, I said something good about economics before. But there's also one thing that economists do, especially political economists, that they fraud, they commit. They make political economy sound as if it's commonsensical, which in reality is not. A lot of history, statistics, and everything put together. Now, I'm speaking to the panelists, but a part of me is very tempted to ask the earlier to intervene and answer this question. Yeah. If you see it looks, the look he gave me, it looks okay. But at least let the world know my temptation. I'll see if we can push it. Now, if these politicians or people we get to go to power, we know some of them before they go to the power, and we've seen some of them in power. But above all, we know the system that got them into power. Is it possible that we are handing over the lives of 200 million of people to people who deal with fiscal, monetary policy, environmental issues, defense, and what we ask them is a school certificate in 2026? Should we not review this thing? Because really, I think we're in a place in this country at the moment where there's some people, my problem with them is not that they're corrupt, is that they don't even know how to be corrupt. There's a case of, my issue is not that you stole, is that you don't know how to steal. That you don't know how to read election. You don't know how to tackle your opponent. You're so brutish and barbaric about it that you lack finesse. I think we should address this issue. Do we not need to review what it takes to hold public office in Nigeria? Morally, we cannot judge, but academically, I think we can set some standards. Should we tend to?
I think the simplification of your question is why make young people go to school and not allow presidents to bring certificate. I think that is.
Let the records show that comment came from Eze. Look, there are a number of issues. I think that when you go through university and you are graduating, they tell you have been found worthy in character. What is missing in Nigeria is not learning. How many graduates do you have in government? They went through university. It's not about learning. And it's not about academic learning. People go there and they're simply behaving like children who were not well brought up. Look, economics can be common sense. The truth is, I don't think there is any serious economist who will not have told you 10 years ago that this is where we're going to end up. Absolutely. There are certain things you do, and you know where you're going to end up. If you continue inflating fuel import numbers and taking money out of Federation account and saying you're paying subsidy, that is not subsidy. It is not a limitless goal. Okay? If you continue printing money like there is no tomorrow in ways and means, just printing money, and then pretending that you can keep the naira artificially strong. You create a room for arbitrage, people become multimillionaires in the short term, but you know that the economy is going to survive. These are things that we said. So when you talk about calling out people in the past, that's not the problem. The problem is calling out people in the present. So what I find in Nigeria is when people are in power, people like us who take risks speak, everybody keeps quiet. When they die, everybody now opens his mouth. So there is no point talking about dead people. You talk to them when they are there. And if enough of us speak, these things change. This is the first point. The second point is we must make a distinction between tactical, even if necessary, interventions and reform. Okay? I personally have an auditor. We had a debate on subsidy over 10 years ago. I have always said the subsidy regime was not sustainable. We cannot continue supporting foreign refineries when we're an oil-producing country, keep refineries open abroad while we're not doing our own. Today we have a situation where we have our own domestic refinery, we're not importing petroleum products, we're even exporting to Europe, and this is very good for the economy. Artificial exchange rates, especially when you are printing money, cannot work. There was going to be a devaluation. Now, so for me, removing subsidy or the right exchange rate, these are good interventions. Now, were they done at the right time? Those are certain questions. And were there other things that should be done that have not been done? These are other issues. And I think we must make that distinction. So it's not enough to say, oh, they remove subsidy. You had to. When you get to a point where 100% of your revenue goes into debt service, you cannot cut it. Where is the money going to come from? However, if you decide to remove subsidy and liberalize exchange rate in an environment of very loose monetary conditions, before you have tightened money supply, the naira drops to a bottomless pit. Okay, so that's a timing issue. Okay. Secondly, we remove the subsidy. We're not spending it. What we should not see is fiscal consolidation. You cannot remove wastages and continue borrowing higher, and I've said this before. So you need to see the benefit. So if you're not paying the subsidy and you've got the money, why are we still borrowing and borrowing and what are we borrowing for? So these are the kinds of questions that we should ask. And I think an economic conversation like this is important. The third thing is, and I'm going to stop here after this. Dr. Alex Otti made a point, and I think we should make that point very clearly. When we talk about the primacy of politics, the first question everybody must ask of a governor or the president or a government is, what is the character of the state? That's what defines everything. Is the state a developmental state that's focused on the people? Is the state a rentier state that is a site for extraction of money by political elite? Is the state a kleptocratic state that just there to serve those who steal? Okay? Exactly. So that defines it. Because if you see governance, if you see being in government as an avenue to making money, all the policies you put in place will be geared towards making money for people. So this is why these questions are important. Alex contested elections in 2015. He lost. Contested in 2019. Well, he lost. I say he lost not because he was not voted in, but because he was not declared the governor. Okay, it's the same person. Now, much as we would like to say, oh, Alex Otti, 2023, he walked up. He won because of the Labour Party. He won because of a certain move of people saying they wanted a change. Okay, and he was carried by that wind of change. Now, in 2027, if you wait, you will win based on his achievements. Because even the people who did not vote for 2010 say, because I remember I said it was the loss of Abia when he lost in 2015. It was, I said it. When Kenya said it was a loss of Abia that they lost. Okay? It was Abia people who lost. And when they elected him, they are the ones who won. It is up to them to decide. Do they want to see these roads and these bridges and this power and this investment? Or do they want to continue collecting handouts and go back to where they were? So there is hope. And if you look at this country, if you look beyond, beneath the federal level, and state level, you'll find a number of governors that are doing good things. And interestingly, many of them were bankers. Many of them were bankers. No, seriously. Okay, look at Bago in Nigeria, or Delta in Zamfara, or Alex in Lagos, or GT in Lagos. Many of these people had a background in finance. Okay, because of the rigorous discipline, okay, and professionalism that you have in that industry, and the sense of targets. You have to reach a target. You don't just go there at the end of the afternoon. What have I achieved? And I think that mental thing helps us. I'm not speaking because of my conscience, but that is. I think we should get more competent, experienced bankers into these offices.
Thank you very much. The people are looking at me, wanting me to remind the emir that the best central bank governors in the world are economists, not bankers. Put it on his side. Comrade, I come at you and go that way back again. Dr. Oti in his speech talked about choices and trade-offs naturally. He talked about sacrificing today to gain some tomorrow. The labor union, if you had a situation at the government that offered you sacrifice today to fight inflation, free salary, focus on purchasing power, is that the deal you will entertain in principle? Maybe with your conditions as usual, you are the man of many conditions.
Well, thank you very much. You know, government here, Governor Oti could offer freeze of salary today. What if he's not there tomorrow?
Don't be tempted anyway, Governor.
No, I don't say that.
Yes. Credibility.
Yeah, we also talking of 36.
Yes.
And we are just using them now. Now, if you are freezing salary, is it based on cost of living index that you're operating now? Because the salary presently being paid is over freezed. Salary being paid 70,000. He himself, even as governor, knows that you are full for the month for you to come to work. That's 70,000 is not enough. That house rent, Wire or Aba, that is not enough. So unless you are going to work on those indices,
yes,
that let's take away your money, even if it's 2 times a day, your transport, your house, and then because there's nobody that has the savings now. So if you do that, you can go ahead and freeze nothing. Because that's the way it is. But if we are to indicate it, that if we are doing this based on inflationary trade, if inflation is constant, at a certain level, and then you say you are freezing salary. Now, me and my people would prefer to collect 5,000 naira minimum wage that is equivalent of the dollar. No country in the world pays 70,000 of its currency. So when you devalue it to be 1 million a month, and it doesn't make sense, it's not because we want that big net. Yeah. If you pay people in UK or whatever 2,000 pounds, that will be okay. So can you match our naira to the pound or the dollar? And me, I come and negotiate with you and collect 2,000. So it's not when you destroy the currency. So what else are you freezing? Now, like the MX said, of course, I don't want to go into that controversy.
Nyamoshiwe Foundation. I really want to commend our keynote speaker for an excellent lecture this afternoon. I believe the time we have spent here is well spent, and the contributions of all the people on the podium are excellent. Emir, I salute your intellectual depth. Governor Oti, please go, sir. Well, sir. Well, sir. Well, sir. We pray God to continue to help you do what you are doing in Abia. Yeah. And show, because I say between you and the gentleman in Enugu, you are showing us what governance is about and what late Sam Mbakwe did in the old Imo state. May you be sustained in your efforts. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That's yeah, hold on. I need to take from students. I already found one here. I'm trying to look.
Make their choices. They build on those choices. So it becomes very difficult to take them back. We have seen it in a lot of states. And I think Abia, at the appropriate time, will sit down, if they have not started sitting down, to think about what happens when what this. But I don't think you should worry so much, because the people themselves that will protect what they have. The truth about it is that I don't need to add a little to what His Highness said. Yes, in 2015, when we ran the election, we actually won that election. So it wasn't simply because of Labour Party then. We were not running on the platform of Labour. It was APGA then. But then, in Nigeria, platforms are just platforms. People switch from one party to another party to the other. I've also done that in the past. But there are people who have better records than me switching parties. Again, it was also not only in Abia that Labour Party ran. So people knew exactly what they were looking for. Even in 2019, it was also clear that we won that election. I think what is critical is that when you have a vision, you hold on to that vision. And even I'm going to tangentially go to Manze Sam Ogabuma's question about election and selection. You are very correct. But then I've always said that people don't back out of their houses because armed robbers visited. You have to stay there and do something. Even if you have to fight the armed robbers, you fight them. Get yourself a kit to fight them, because that is life. I think it's John Nathan that said that bad leaders are elected by good citizens who do not vote. So when you don't come out to vote, you already voted. You are voting for the wrong people. So that your votes are stolen in 2015 and 2019 doesn't mean it will be stolen in 2023. And if you are in doubt, go and ask Abia. So I don't want anybody to. Moses Carlo, the gentleman that asked if okay, Moses Carlo about the Abia airport. There's an Abia airport that we are building already. The runway is going on, and I'm sure it's not that one that you're talking about. But the other one you're talking about is being investigated by EFCC, so we'll let them conclude their job, and I'm sure that our money will come back.
The gentleman that asked a question about Showore, I don't think I want to dignify Showore with a comment here. I think he has subsequently granted another interview where he said he had slept in my house on 2 occasions in the village when he came to campaign. So if he slept in my house and ate my food, meanwhile I don't know where he stays. Then it will show you something, but it's his opinion and he's entitled to it. But it's just one out of several people. And Abia people will not agree with him. Dr. Melazo, thank you so much for bringing us back to the issue of development planning. There used to be the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and I believe the 5th National Development Plan. And then we now started rolling plans. And then there is a saying that failing to plan is planning to fail. And I want to agree with you that we may have to go back. In fact, we need to go back to a whole lot of things. And in my interventions, when I sat on the editorial board of This Day, I had made a lot of recommendations, including the sustainability of the number of states we have today, even though some people are still agitating for more states to be created. We may have to go back and ask questions. Do we really need 36 states? Maybe not. Maybe we need regions. Maybe we need just 6 regions. And we can reduce the cost of governance, the number of governors. If we achieve it, I can give up my own slot. But the point is that there's nothing that we cannot go back and look at. Nothing is sacrosanct. There are even the issue of bicameral legislature. Do we need the Senate with 109 members, House of Representatives with 360 members? Can we do with 1? Some other countries are able to manage with 1. Maybe only the Senate. I don't know. But it's and once you do that, you will be able to save a whole lot of money and deploy to capital expenditure rather than recurrent. But it's a discussion that we must have. If we don't have it today, we'll have it sometime. I guess that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, time is no longer on our side. Your Excellencies, distinguished gentlemen and ladies, if you agree with me. So we'll move forward. We'll move to the next item on the program, which is induction into the Niche Hall of Fame. At this point, let me reinvite the MD and Editor-in-Chief, Mr. Ikechukwu Amechi. Where is he? I know he's been running around to make sure that everything works, but this is when we need him immediately. Yeah. Ike, my brother, is a hard worker. If you leave him, he will do everything himself. Tell him to stop the usher work and come and do MD work. Let him come and do the MD work part. Yeah. Leave usher work. It's time for MD.
Well, we are almost there. I know we've had a long day. Like I said earlier, Rear Admiral Iwoha was here at 8 a.m. So I'm sitting down all that time. So what we have now is induction into the niche in appreciation of those who devote their time, their talent, and their resources to come every year to give us this lecture and to cheer the occasion. What we do in appreciation of the sacrifices they continue to make is to induct them into what we call the Niche Hall of Fame. And we do that by presenting plaques to them as a sign of appreciation. So far, we've had 8 people inducted into the Niche Hall of Fame. The first set, Professor Kinsley Mogalo, who delivered the first lecture, and Professor Remi Shoneya. By the way, Professor Remi Shoneya is also a politician. She was the presidential candidate of Nakowa Party in 2015. Okay, so that was the first set. So the second set, Dr. Christopher Kolade and Professor Anya Oanya, who is also here. Prof, you are welcome. The third set, we had the former governor of Lagos State, Fashola, who delivered the lecture, and Alhaji Tanko Yekesei, who came all the way from Kano to come and chair the occasion. The fourth set was Rotimi Amechi, former governor of Rivers State and former minister of transportation, who delivered the lecture, and Dr. Omar Elazo, who chaired the event. So today, we have, again, 2 distinguished personalities that I can't thank enough. The governor of Abia State, Dr. Les Chioma Oti, and His Royal Highness Muhammad Sanusi II, the Emir of Kano. So we will induct them into the Niche Hall of Fame as the guest speaker and again as the chairman of the occasion. Please, can I have the plaques? The first one. His Excellency, please. The Niche Hall of Fame to Dr. Alex Chioma Oti, OFR, Executive Governor Abia State, in appreciation of your role as the guest speaker at the 2026 The Niche Annual Lecture. You've been inducted this day, April 23, 2026.
Congratulations, Your Excellency.
His Royal Highness Muhammadu Sanusi II, CON, Emir of Kano. Somebody said we should read their citation. I'm not going to read it, because if we start reading citation, by the time we finish that of Dr. Oti, the day will be far gone. Yes. Then if we add that of Emir, then that means we won't go home today. So no citation. Everybody should know them. So this is in appreciation of your role as the chairman of the 2026 The Niche Annual Lecture. You've been inducted on this day, April 23, 2026.
Congratulations, His Highness. All right, thank you very much, the MD and Editor-in-Chief of The Niche. Congratulations to the inductees into the Niche Hall of Fame. All right, to sustain that momentum, we'll now take a brief goodwill message. A brief goodwill message, because we're almost winding up. At this point, let me invite another very prominent leader former general, former Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause for General Ike Omasanda Nwachukwu as he comes forward. Yeah, once a general, always a general.
Our dear Governor, Alex Otti, the Emir of Kano, Awogidi, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I bear witness to the fact that since Alex Otti became governor of my state, I proudly can tell people that I'm from Ibadan. He's done so well. He's led our people forthrightly. He's given his all and still doing so for the development of the people, not only of Abia State, also of Nigeria, our great country. So all Ibabians should buckle up and wait before the date of the next election and return him to govern our state for another 4 years. I say this with the greatest sense of responsibility. Having said that, we must begin to look at the structure of our country, Nigeria. We need to restructure our country. We need to return to proper democracy. We need to return to proper federalism. Our founding fathers were not stupid, they were smart people. They decided that the best way to govern a country with diverse people as we have is to have true federation. We must return to that. I'm also a strong believer that no state in this country is unviable, because it has been shown without any doubt that every state land, all we need is to have proper leadership, to begin to have leaders who understand, like we're told here, economics, law, and they believe that you're there to serve your people, that you are a governor does not make you the best in the state that you govern. It's only an opportunity to rally those who are as good as you are or even better than you are to jointly build a better society. So my point here is simply this: may God give us all life and strength to see a better Nigeria, a Nigeria where every Nigerian will feel proud to be Nigerian. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, General Ike Nwachukwu. Thank you, Elder Statesman. Okay, quickly before we take the vote of thanks, let me invite a man whose quest for knowledge and transfer of knowledge is unparalleled, Professor Patu Tomi. Where? He's gone? Professor Pat is gone. Okay. So that's it. I think we'll make do with what we have and move on to the next. Yeah. So it will now be appropriate. All right. In the absence of Professor Patu Tomi, we'll allow the chairman of today's occasion to give us a bit of his closing remarks, and after that we'll invite someone for the vote of thanks. So at this point, the microphone will go back to His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we should take away from this lecture and from the comments, and I'd like to suggest we remember short sayings from 3 different philosophers. The first was the economist John Maynard Keynes, who said that all political leaders are slaves to some defunct economist. And that is the truth. When you see an economy grow, a leader has implemented the good ideas of some past economists. When you see high inflation, unemployment, poverty, recession, somebody has taken ideas from some bad economists. So economics continues to rule, and politicians need to understand the difference between good economics and bad economics. And this is one thing I think we should take away. The second was from George Orwell. And he said, when a people decide to vote in corrupt politicians into office, they are not victims but accomplices. So we as Nigerians need to understand that you get what you voted for. And I think if we follow on General Ikenwachukwu now, the people of Abia, you have seen what you have. The decision is purely yours. You want this or you want what you had before. It is your decision, you know. And what you vote for is what you get. The third philosopher is some Greek philosopher called His Majesty Alfred Nemeka Abogidi. The Obi of Onitsha. I don't know if you got the philosophical comment he made, but you should remember that people who have failed do not want you to succeed because your success reminds them of their failure. So when you're successful, among those who are your enemies are people who are not happy that you are providing something that can be compared. If you're a governor, governors who are not performing will say, why is this man spoiling our bread now? Because people say, so this thing can be done with money. So those 3 points, I think we need to bear in mind. The final thing is, it is not all, I think Alex started this, it is not all darkness. To be honest, there's good things happening. There are things that need to be done. What we need to do is move from this binary debate where everything the government does, we praise, or everything the government does, we condemn. And those in office must also accept that they're not perfect. And if people say, well done for doing A, but you are wrong in doing B or C, they are not your enemies. They are Nigerians. They have a right to speak. You should listen to them and correct what needs to be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano. Thank you very much, and Chairman of today's occasion. He's spoken so well. The closing remarks apt. At this point, I'll now invite the editor, Dr. Emeka Alex Duru. Please, a round of applause for the gentleman as he gives us his word of thanks.
Thank you, our distinguished guests. Thank you, Your Excellency, the lecturer. You actually live by our expectation. You lived up to our expectation. Thank you, His Royal Majesty, Emir Sanusi II. Thank you for always being forthright. Rankadede, sir. Thank you, Obi. Abogidi. Abogidi. You have always been there for us, and you will continue to be there for us. God bless and protect you, sir. The Philosopher King. Thank you, sir. Thank you, the comrade. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Organo. Thank you, everybody. My friend, Dickin Pat, who delivered the opening prayer, told me that we have a bumper this year. And indeed, we have. When you have just one particular royal father is enough. But when you have two very serious ones, senior ones, that's more than a bumper. When you also look at the coming, correct. It's got 3. So we are more than blessed. Now, when you also have a battery of generals, rear admirals, I mean, you are more than protected. Then when you have philosophers, professors, and the rest of them, you can go to the moon. And when you have the political heavyweights around, you can make policy statements. Then when you talk about having editors, MDs, and all reporters that make the press function, we thank God for everything. We also have men and women of God among us here. We have commoners like me. Commoners not in the sense of being ordinary, but commoners in the sense of determining what happened. You can only give glory to God. And I thank our mothers. It will always be well with the mothers. We thank everybody here. Permit me, please, to go home today and eat. So I will thank my wife, Dr. Mrs. Jem Francis, for being here. I thank my fellow students. I am one of you in NIJ. I was there, and I remain one of you. Thank you. I thank you, the students, the Akokites. Unilag, I thank you. Great Akokites. Thank everybody. In 2018, we promised you that we are not going to lower the bar of this lecture, and we have been improving. This 2018, we said we are not going to lower the bar, and we have been rising, improving. This year seems to be bigger than the previous ones. Next year's own will be bigger than this year. We will all gather here and be partakers of the lecture next year. God will protect us as we go home. He will secure our families, and we will live to praise and worship Him in Jesus' name. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, MC, for your wonderful work.
Thank you very much, my brother. You would have made a colossal mistake today. Your Excellency, Your Highnesses, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, media, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful day. I think the engineer, do you have the national anthem to play for us so that we can rise? And after the national anthem, if there's any encouragement, you can now give to the people of God. But for now, I think we should rise and take the national anthem. If we don't have it on play, we will sing it
for those who know it. Yeah, they'll switch off.
Engineer, do you have the national anthem?
Okay, let's
go ahead and sing it. 1, 2, go. Which of them? Alright. It's all arise. Is it Nigeria we held it? Which one is it? Nigeria we held thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigeria, we are proud to say, our sovereign land. Thank you very much. You have all done well. Thank God I still remember. All right, wonderful people.
No move,